Jeff Jantz here at Jantzer Studios, and today I'm going to show you how I made these spears for the play Firebringer. And they actually are a little bit more than meets the eye here. So in the play, the spears hit a stone wall at one point. Hopefully this isn't spoiling anything for you. And they create a spark. So I was trying to figure out how we can do that in a play. And so I made it so that these spears actually light up. So this one lights up from the back. And I'm going to show you how I made it. Show you how I added this beautiful texture here. And I'll also show you how I made it so that this part can come out, because at one point in the play I take these out and they need to use them to create sparks. All right, so hopefully I didn't ruin the play for you, but let's just jump right into it. We're going to use 3/4 inch PVC to make the shaft of the spear. I also have a couple of other diameters that we're going to use to fit onto the inside of it. You'll see how that works in a little bit. So a quick little side note, I'm actually making two separate spears and they're going to be slightly different. Stick around until the end of the video to find out why and how. This little bit will come in handy later. I'm going to sand these edges smooth and then sand this spot because I'm going to glue that. Then I'm going to heat it up just a little bit on the end so that way it can fit on top of the next piece of PVC. Then I'm going to heat up this part so that I can stretch it out and fit it around the flashlight. Now I'm reheating it so it fits nice and tight. Remember this piece? We're going to sand that and use some E6000 to glue it to the flashlight. That will help hold it in place later so it doesn't slip. Now we're going to glue this to the other spot using some PVC glue. And we'll let that sit for a couple hours. Okay, I'm cutting up some smaller diameter pieces of pipe, and these are going to be made to fit inside of the larger pipe, and this will slide in between all the way up to the top to press the button for the flashlight. Let's lock it in, put everything together, and test it out. This little panhead screw at the end will be what actually pushes the button. It only has to move a teeny tiny bit. Perfect. Alright, let's glue it all together. For the places where the PVC fits nice and snug, I'm just going to use PVC glue. But there's some spots that have a little bit of a gap, so I'm going to use E6000 because it'll fill in a little bit of space. And I'm going to let that dry overnight. I'm going to put a little piece of hardware in here, and that way it'll limit the movement to just about 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch or so. We're going to drill this hole out and carve it out to make it kind of an oval. This nut will work as a stop. So we're going to screw that in temporarily. And I think that's going to work. So we'll screw it back in and cut off the back side. Okay, let's test that out. Nice. Now it's time to add some texture. I'm just going to use hot glue and draw kind of like a bark texture all up and down the PVC, and I'll even use that to hide some of the imperfections on there, and then we'll do a little swirl on the bottom. So one thing I have to figure out here is how I'm going to make it so that when I press the button, the flashlight just turns on really quickly and then turns back off when you release the button. So I'm going to take this thing apart and see what we can do. Okay, so I'm just going to be totally honest. I have no idea how this thing works. But let's see what happens if we just take this part right here and maybe get rid of it. Okay, we'll snap it back together without that part and we'll see what happens. I forgot to put this one in. All right, let's try it again. That doesn't look right either. Okay, let's do this again. Maybe it's just because I didn't get this part to line up correctly with the groove in here. Let's try that. I'm not really sure that's what I wanted to happen here. Let's try this again. So what I ultimately figured out is that if I cut this piece in half and then flip the part with the teeth over, so that way they just can't lock together anymore, and then put everything back together, it just did what I wanted it to do. But I must have tried at least 5 or 6 different combinations, and then I also put it back together wrong at least 5 or 6 more times after that. But I ultimately got it to work, and it does exactly what I wanted it to do. Now I just have to do it to the other flashlight. Did I mention there's 2 of these? Now, may I point your attention to the jagged rock at the end of the stick? Well, let me make it first, then I'll point your attention to it. To make this, I'm using some basically just foam packing material. And I'm going to color the inside orange, so that way when it lights up, it looks orange. And we're also going to color the flashlight orange too. And then we'll carefully glue that together. Try not to burn my fingers too much. Just a little bit at a time. That's exactly what I was going for. All right, now we glue it to the flashlight. Now I'll just use a Sharpie to add a little bit of texture to make it look a little bit more like a rock. It's possible the audience may see this part, so we're going to add a little bit of texture to that too, just to kind of blend things together, just in case. I'd say it's looking pretty solid. So the last step is to paint the spears themselves. I'm just going to add a base coat of brown spray paint. Then once that dries, I'll go back through and add some highlights. So I'm using this scrap piece of sponge, and I'm just kind of lightly brushing that on the spear. And once I've got it on there, just on all the high spots, I'll just go back through and wipe it all off. And that's it. Well, you watched it all the way to the end, so I'm assuming that means you liked the video. I just wanted to point out that I actually made 2 different spears for this play, because at one point they have 2 spears, but this one is slightly different. It doesn't have the little mechanism here so that you can light up the end, but the end still does light up. But this one also comes out. But because this spear is going to get thrown, I wanted to secure the spearhead just a little bit more, but they need to be able to pull it out really quickly during the play. So the way that I decided to make it secured better, but also be able to be removed quickly, is I took a little Velcro strap and I just added some twine to it. So that way it's just got one little extra level of security there, and then you can still grab it and yank it out of there and make the sparks light up. If you have any questions, put them down below. If you want to see more, make sure that you follow my Instagram page, because I post a lot more often on there. And hopefully we'll see you in the next video.